So, it feels like the Canadian banks are constantly changing the different mortgage rules, and the implications behind those mortgage rules into our investing strategies can be drastic. Since 2010, when I became a real estate investor, I've experienced all sorts of changes in the banking environment, all sorts of changes in the lending environment, and it's drastically impacted my business model. In real estate investing, when it comes to dealing with the banks, you need to be willing to adapt or die. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do enjoy this video, smash that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and definitely check out my other videos. So if you're unwilling to play a game where the rules are constantly changing, real estate investing may not be the right game for you. Those are more than enough changes for someone to give up and say, you know what, this is unfair, the game's rigged, it's only set up so the rich can get richer. So, whether it's every couple of months or every couple of years, the Canadian financial authorities, they like to tweak our banking rules. And usually this results in immediate panic from both the media as well as brand new real estate investors. Most of this panic is almost always overstated, or at least in my experience, it's always been overstated, blown out proportions, made out to be a much bigger deal than it actually is. Because I mean, once I sat down and realized that I've been doing this for like 8 years now, investing in real estate, I've seen all sorts of changes. And realistically, when it comes down to bank mortgage changes, it's adapt or die, guys. At the end of the day, the rules of the game are constantly going to be changing. It's just the nature of having government regulators. So we either need to be willing to adapt to it or die. It's honestly that simple. So let's take a look at what I've adapted to over the last 8 years as a real estate investor here in Ontario, Canada. Once you guys see this, it's changed a lot over the last 8 years. So you think that you're dealing with major changes right now in 2018 in Canada? Wait until you check out the changes that I've gone through just over the last 8 years alone. January 2010, I'm gonna become a real estate investor. I'm gonna crush this. I'm gonna make all kinds of passive income. It's gonna be so easy to get income properties because it's the Wild West right now. And less than 2 months later, February 2010, the authorities changed the rules. And so they changed the rules now to the maximum you could refinance. You used to be able to refinance up to 95% value of the property. Whereas they changed the rules February 2010, I could now only refinance up to 90% of the value of the property. And as a BRRRR investor, if you were a BRRRR investor back then, that could drastically change your business model. So that could create some really rocky waters at first glance. As well, 20% down for rental properties February 2010. January 2010, Wild West. You used to be able to put down 5%, sometimes even 0% on an income property, on a rental property in Canada. Then February 2010 happens and you need 20% down. Think about how drastic of a change that was. Going from, late 2009, early 2010, wanting to become a real estate investor, thinking I can get 0 or 5% down deals on my income properties, and then realizing that, no, actually you need 20% down now. That could have blown out my business model. That could have destroyed me as a real estate investor if I would have been like, oh, the rules are too hard now, I'm giving up. Instead, I was just like, they're changing the rules, I guess I'm gonna have to adapt or die. And the nice thing is, with these rule changes, there are opportunities because some people are going to decide to die instead of adapt to these new rules. There's always going to be a group that are just gonna shrug and be like, you know what? I'm out. They're going to tap out. And so that's your opportunity to spring in when they're tapping out. Then they at least left it quiet for the rest of 2010. They didn't mess with me or my business model much more. But then boom, January 2011, again, we changed the refinance rules. Now you could only refinance up to 85% value of the property versus 90%. And remember, in less than a year, it had gone from 95% down to 85%. Again, if you were doing BRRRRs, this could have drastically impacted your business model. And as well, amortization periods dropped from 35 to 30 years. Again, that would drastically impact your ability to refinance. So if you're working with one said business model back in 2009, by the start of 2011, your business model had to be completely revamped as a BRRRR investment. So that's another big consideration, is that your business model is going to have to constantly adapt. But again, they're going to change the rules on you. It's just the nature of the game. So if you're unwilling to play a game where the rules are constantly changing, real estate investing may not be the right game for you. You need to stay on top of the lending rules because they're always going to be changing. It's just, you'll see, they're always changing. June 2012, only 18 months after the last change, boom, they hit us with another change. Amortization periods now are going from 30 years to 25 years. So again, in under 18 months, we've gone from being able to amortize up to 35 years down to 25 years. That's a drastic impact on a lot of people's business models. And yet, guess what? Real estate investors kept making money throughout this period. At least the smart ones did. At least the ones that were willing to adapt. They kept making money. We kept making money, guys. As well, again, they changed the refinance terms. So now you can only refinance up to 80% loan to value rather than the 85 that they had changed it in January 2011. And remember, that had changed from February 2010. And then we had TDS and GDS be entered, and where we could only have total debt service of 44% or gross debt service of 39%. As well, CMHC started maxing out at $1 million. So if you're looking to get an insured mortgage in Canada at that point in time, you could have gotten an insured mortgage for essentially as high of a value as you wanted, where now they'd put a cap at $1 million on your personal residence. And say now they had some stress tests in place that were going to make it harder for you to qualify for additional mortgages, particularly if you were investing for appreciation versus cash flow. If you were investing for cash flow, you could have weathered this storm simply because your cash flow would allow you to service your debt effectively. Then hey, guess what? Actually, big surprise here. They gave us a couple of years off to adapt to all these initial changes. So from June 2012 until December 2015, it was actually pretty quiet. And it's kind of good it was quiet. It gave us time to adapt. But December 2015, again, they made CMHC changes, which increased the amount you had to put down if you're buying a principal residence, as well as started putting in caps on where CMHC topped out. So it topped out $1 million. It started transitioning out at $500,000. And again, if you were looking at flipping properties in your principal residence, this shit could really impact you, particularly if you're in the higher end price point of flipping personal residences. October 2016, less than a year later, they made another change. They added new stress tests as well as portfolio insurance. I'm not going to get really deep into those. If you guys are interested, you can Google them. So January 2018, another change. They added a new stress test. As well, you can no longer do bundling to try and have a loan to value workaround. Again, I'm not going to dive deep into these changes, but let's take a look at this. Over the last 8 years, just myself being a real estate investor in Ontario, Canada, what have I experienced? I've experienced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major changes to the way that we could borrow money. And look, in these first 2.5 years, some of these were the biggest changes possible, at least to me in my business model. Because look, at one point in time, we could refinance at 95% loan to value, and within 2.5 years, it dropped down to 80% loan to value. That's drastically different. We went from being able to put down 5 or sometimes even 0% down on income property to having to put 20% down on a rental property. Those are more than enough changes for someone to give up and say, you know what, this is unfair, the game's rigged, it's only set up so the rich can get richer. It's only set up so that the hustlers can hustle, in my opinion. And so I kept hustling throughout all these changes, and that's how I managed to keep building up my real estate portfolio. So as soon as you start hearing about a new change to lending laws in your region, whether it's in Canada, the US, or anywhere across the globe, just realize you got 2 choices, guys. You can adapt or die. And the nice thing is, the harder these rules get, the more people are going to tap out, the more opportunities are going to be created because people don't want to learn new rules. People don't want to learn new strategies. Old dogs don't want to learn new tricks, but that's your opportunity. This is your opportunity to get control of the situation and start growing your portfolio. So don't look at changes as being an instant negative. Look at them as an opportunity. Problems or profits, guys. Remember, problems or profits. Alright, well if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and definitely check out the other videos YouTube wants you to check out. And until next time, remember, making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money in this world for us to all make it, but if you're not saving it, I mean, like, what's the point, guys? Thanks, bye!